Welcome to Align to Your Design. I'm your host, Baeth Davis. Isn't it time to wrap your business around your purpose and bring your greatest work to the world? Each week, join me as we explore various biometric tools such as human design and hand analysis and how to use them to fulfill your destiny and align to your design. We will reveal how to do the work you are designed to do rather than what you think you should do. Hey everyone, Baeth Davis here. You are listening and or watching Align to Your Design, where I interview people that I feel are living their purpose full out. And today we're going to talk about a common yet very hot button subject, and that would be your relationship to FOOD, food. Oh, there are people with eating disorders. There are people with eating addictions. There are people that eat to stuff their feelings. And then there are some people that eat for nutrition, for energy, for relaxation, for energy, right? And ideally, whatever you're consuming is helping you evolve, helping you shine, not something that's making you energetically heavy. And I don't just mean on the scale. When you are not kind to yourself and you're filling yourself with toxin, you're taking yourself further and further and further away from your purpose and creating more and more suffering, discontent, pain, which can often result in physical issues, knee replacements, hip replacements. You get the idea. Now, in the United States of America, the last I checked, the obesity rate is somewhere between 65 and 70%. I would argue that almost all physical problems are emotional problems. And our guest today, Tricia Nelson, not only agrees with me, knows a whole hell of a lot more about this subject than me. So I'm going to tell you about our amazing guest, and we are going to get right into our subject today. So just give me a minute here. I just want to make sure I give her credentials to you correctly. So Tricia lost 50 pounds by identifying and healing the underlying causes of her emotional eating. Now, I would offer to all of you listening to this, healing the underlying causes of all the problems in your life is the solution, and you've got to heal them emotionally. Tricia has spent over 30 years researching the hidden causes of food addiction. She is an emotional eating expert and the author of the #1 best-selling book, Heal Your Hunger: 7 Simple Steps to End Emotional Eating Now. She's also the host of the popular podcast, The Heal Your Hunger Show. She's a TEDx speaker, a highly regarded coach, and has been featured on The List, NBC, CBS, KTLA, Fox, and Discovery Health. And Tricia is a personal friend of mine. We met at a charity event probably a decade ago. We became fast friends from that meeting, and we have stayed in each other's lives ever since, helping each other, encouraging each other to get out there and shine, bring our gifts, and just general mutual admiration society, which I think all of you ought to cultivate if you don't have one. You need people in your life that just think you're tops and you feel the same way about them. Those no conflict, no drama, no nonsense, but totally delightful and joyful relationships. And I have that with Tricia because Tricia's in her body. Tricia's in her heart. Tricia is in her purpose. Tricia is aligned to her design. And at the end of our interview today, of course, we're going to have a look at her design. She's a very rare 6'3" profile. So we're going to talk about that today because I don't know many 6'3s. Personally, I think she's the only one I know personally. It's very rare. So she's rare, and you're going to get to meet her right now. So with that, let's bring on Tricia Nelson to Align to Your Design. Welcome. Hello, hello.
Oh, thank you. What an incredible introduction. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. You know, everybody needs their gift and their accomplishments reflected back to them.
Thanks, honey. I love you.
I love you too. It's nice to hear it, isn't it? Like, oh,
Yeah.
shit, I've done a lot.
Wow. It's really, yeah, it feels good. It's a great way to start an interview.
Yeah. Well, my pleasure. My pleasure. So let's dive right into this concept of emotional eating. How did you first discover that you were an emotional eater and transform that situation for yourself?
Yes, I didn't think of myself as an emotional eater. I just like food. I was convinced of it. I love to eat. I love to cook. I love to serve it to other people, go out to dinner. I would have heart palpitations if we were going to a super nice restaurant. It's like a really exciting thing for me. And it wouldn't have been a problem, but I started to gain weight in adolescence. And by age 21, I was 50 pounds overweight. So that was kind of miserable for me. And I tried lots of diets and exercise programs and pills and potions and lotions and 12-step programs and therapy, eating disorders therapy. I mean, I was at it. I was doing everything I could, looking under every rock. But at the end of the day, I would just do the same thing. I'd lose weight for a time. It would get really hard. And then I'd put the weight back on. So I was a yo-yoer. And I had like 5 different sizes of pants in my closet as a result, because I never knew what size I'd be. So that's kind of how it went for me, Beth. But what happened is I remember my sister came home one day and announced that she was an emotional eater. And I did not have a good relationship with her. So she had zero credibility with me. So I'm like, whatever, I roll, but I could, and I think to myself, I just like food. I'm no emotional eater, but I couldn't unhear it. And so I started to look at my relationship with food, and like I go out to Friendlies. We're both from Massachusetts, and there's a Friendlies on like in every town. So I'd go to Friendlies with my friends, and they'd order a sandwich and it would come with fries. They'd eat their sandwich and pick up their fries. I'd eat my fries and pick up my sandwich. And I'd look at them and I would think, how can somebody leave French fries on their plate? Like I was consumed by this. I just couldn't understand them. And I started thinking, I am not the same as these people. Like I'm different. I have this obsession with carbs and sugar, and I can't leave it alone. So it started to sort of seep in that maybe I am different with food. Maybe there is more to it that I just like food. So that's kind of where it started. And then of course it kind of unfolded, and I started to really realize it's an unhealthy relationship with food, even an abusive relationship with food, where I would eat to excess and feel stuffed and be mad at myself and have all these self-recriminating thoughts like, why did you do that? You're such a loser. Why can't you stop? There you go again, and so all these thoughts about my eating behaviors. And of course, then the thoughts about my body. I had this roll in my tummy that I would scrunch up and imagine cutting it off, like you cut fat off the side of a steak. So a lot of harsh thoughts, right? So this is where the knowledge I was an emotional eater came in. It wasn't until I addressed the emotional eating, though, that I was able to lose weight and keep it off. So none of the diets worked for me. Nothing. No treatment of the symptom got me where I needed to go. I need to go deeper and deal with my emotional dependence on food. And that changed everything.
Yeah. And what emotions were you stuffing or repressing with the eating?
The thing about emotional eating is it's almost like anything uncomfortable was worth stuffing,
Okay.
So like and this is not a conscious thing, like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to find some carbs. It's not like that. It's a habit. You start young, typically, using food as a crutch. And it turns into this nasty habit where you're just always reaching for food. It's like, if there's anything ooey gooey or chewy, it's got your name on it. I was magnetized by heavy, starchy, carby, sugary things. I just love them. And then once I started, I couldn't stop. But, regarding the emotions, I do have something to share that I think is helpful for people they might be thinking, that girl crazy. Like, I ain't no emotional eater. So I want to, I want to kind of, help people come along on this, because I think we're all emotional eaters to some degree. I think we all have, we can go overboard once in a while, or we can comfort eat. I think we're hardwired to have some kind of comforting, relationship with food. It's not a bad thing. It's just if you take it too far, too often, and if you have mounting consequences as a result. So that was me. Some people are just, maybe you're run of the mill, emotional eaters, eat for comfort once in a while, but then you have people who binge eat, they eat to excess, they can't control their weight, and that was me. And that was more of a food addict. which is an emotional eater, but it's just that I took it to places where there was a lot of negative consequences and with very little control. And those are the kind of the two things that inform where you are. Actually, it's a spectrum. And I have a quiz on my website that people can take to find out where they are on the spectrum, if they're an emotional eater or literally a food addict. But it's really the amount of control that you have and the consequences that you have. And the longer you do it, the more consequences you tend to have, right? Because if you're a yo-yo dieter and you do it for decades, your body's going to say, uncle, it's like, don't keep doing this to me. Our bodies are going to have joint pain. We're going to be pre-diabetic or diabetic. We're going to have all kinds like autoimmune issues, gut issues. It goes with the territory. If you eat crappy, unhealthy foods for long enough, your body's going to rebel and say, ouch, So that's kind of that. But again, regarding the emotions question that you asked a while ago, I want to talk to you about the Pep Test, because this is a good way for people to start seeing the connection between their emotions and their food choices and amounts. So PEP is an acronym, and PEP, and we all know what unhealthy foods do to us, right? If we eat them long enough, but this is more of a way of seeing what it's doing for us. These
the benefits,
foods.
like the payoffs.
Yeah. So I ate, the first P in PEP is painkiller. So I ate as a form of killing uncomfortable emotions. So pain, let's put the umbrella term pain on it. I ate when I was in pain, but I was so allergic to uncomfortable feelings that everything felt painful to me. So, a job that's not working, a relationship that's stressful, financial concerns or worries, a parent whose health is fading or whatever. It's like their life has a lot of pain to serve up. A pandemic, for instance.
Yeah.
It's just, it really puts the squeeze on us, and we feel uncomfortable and we don't know how to cope. So we turn to food to soften the edges of that pain. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we use food as a form of escape. Okay. And part of this is because as overeaters, we tend to be overthinkers. This is my experience with emotional eaters, is we have racing minds and we're constantly overthinking everything. What did she mean by that? Why did they do that? Why are they all looking at me? I think they hate me. We're always thinking of all these things. And, most of which is not true. We're projecting our insecurities. But the point is that we're so busy upstairs between our ears that sometimes we just need a break from it. It's exhausting to overthink everything, right? Yes. So it's like you get your favorite foods, you sit in front of the TV and you just veg out. And this is a good way, and one of the ways that we use food is to just get out of our heads, worrying, awfulizing, thinking of all the terrible things that could happen. It gets really, really stressful. So we just use food to check out, and it works, and carbs they give us a serotonin effect. It calms us down. So that's a very typical reason why we eat. The third one, the last P in PEP, stands for punishment. And and this seems a little counterintuitive at times because we eat to reward ourselves. We constantly think of food like, oh, I've worked so hard this week, I'm going to have cookies, or I've worked so hard, I'm going to get my favorite chocolate, So we think of it as a reward. But if we're one of those people like me who went overshot the mark, we ate too much and we're sitting there rewarding ourselves in front of our favorite TV show on a Friday night, but then we overshoot, we eat too much, we feel sick, we've spilled ice cream on our sweater, our favorite sweater, and the next day we're like, I'm not going anywhere. I don't want anybody to see me and my face is bloated. Well, that's not a reward, is it? That's kind of a punishment. I just did that to myself. Why would I do that? And my experience is overeaters tend to be overfeelers, and we feel guilty about everything. So we're always feeling like it's our fault. Everything sticks to us. And so that gets really heavy. Plus, when we're overeating, we're not at our best. And when we're kind of feeling depressed and down on ourselves, other people get the spillover of that. And so sometimes we're bitchy and snappy, and then we feel bad, and then we use food to beat ourselves up. So these are some of the things. So again, the PEP stands for painkiller, escape, and punishment. And we're talking about feelings, pain, any kind of painful feelings, fear, and guilt. Those are some primary emotions, but those are kind of umbrella emotions, and there's offshoots off of all of those as well. So it's, like I said at the beginning, it's kind of like free for all. It's when we're in the habit of medicating our emotions, of like softening the blow of things that are uncomfortable, it comes in all different shapes and sizes, those feelings. And we're just sort of like, whatever it is, it's reach for the food.
Wow. I'm so excited to talk to you about your design in a little bit here, because you're not an emotional type. So one of the issues, I have chills. One of the issues that you've really dealt with is that a lot of those most of those feelings were never yours. And when people take on other people's feelings unconsciously, there's two main side effects. The first one is mental anxiety of the obsessive, looping, racing kind. And the other is, I need to discharge this energy because it's not mine.
Ooh, wow.
I know. And food, of course, creates this cascade effect, or like Bill Burr says, your blood sugar goes,
right.
And it just floods your body with all these hormones and chemicals, and you are dopamined out. Yeah. And we live in a dopamine culture. I was listening to this lecture about how different hormones have taken center stage throughout history. And up until the dopamine age, we were in the testosterone age, which was like industrialization, factories, battle, that kind of thing. But then we moved into this dopamine culture where everyone's like, I just want to chill. Right? I just want to not feel it. So food, drugs, whatever it might be. So we'll look at that in a little bit. So I have another question for you. This is so fascinating to me. And I'm going to ask you a real heretic question, because that's
okay. Lay it on me, girl.
I know you'll be very tactful, but one of the things that makes me a little bit crazy is this messaging that it's perfectly fine that you are way overweight. Now, I want to clarify, everyone's soul is beautiful. Destroying your body isn't. No amount of ad campaigns are going to take away the fact that you might be an emotional eater or have a real eating disorder like anorexia or bulimia, which is, sort of the extreme. That's the extreme of emotional eating. So will you speak to why you think this campaign is being kind of rammed down our throats, so to speak?
Absolutely.
And I personally think it's doing I think it's deception. I think it's deception. And I just wonder what your thoughts about it, because a lot of these people come to you.
Yep. And I will, well, they do and they don't. The ones who aren't on board with who aren't feeling body positive at any weight come to me.
At any weight. So they could be 10 pounds overweight or 100 pounds overweight, but they just don't love their body.
Right. And they're not happy at the way they are. So I have a lot to say about this. I'm glad you asked. So
yeah, because I'm curious. It's one of those things I'm curious about, but I'm careful about how I approach it, because I don't want anyone to feel shamed. And I know the core to success in life is self-love.
Yes.
Right. It's loving yourself. So, but I know you'll address this articulately and much better than me. So I want to hear your thoughts.
So, first of all, I'm grateful for the body positivity movement, because there's in our culture, we do discriminate against fat people. It's it's part of the culture. If you're not thin and beautiful, you're at a deficit. Like you are being, discriminated against. It's just the way it is in jobs, in relationships, and who knows, the amount of pay that you take in. So that's a problem. That's a big problem. And so the body positivity movement can move the needle on raising awareness that all people in all shapes and sizes are equal. Okay. That's really important. The personal experience, I've been fat and I've been thin. Thin's better. Okay. There's no question. The reason why I'm here talking to you today, Beth, and the reason why I've spent the past 30 years on the topic of emotional eating is because I know to my toes the darkness of being obsessed with food and out of control binge eating. Like that is freaking miserable. I've been there so many times and I've been like, I'm done. I'm never doing that again. And then I've done it again. So I know the hell of it. And it drives me to help people get out of that. Now, right? So it drives me. I know the hell of it. Now, what I also know is that for people who have been at the weight loss game for a long time, and most of my clients are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Okay. They're not spring chickens. They've been around the block. They've dieted and, blown it like tens, hundreds of times. Okay. It is so demoralizing and it's so defeating that many people, after doing it for decades and never moving the needle at all, like they're still obese, many people out of a sense of self-protection will stop trying, because the statistic is 95 to 98% of all diets fail. But most of what's offered people who struggle with obesity, most of what's offered are the diet and exercise solutions. That's pretty much all that's out there.
And that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work.
Diet and exercise is like later, right? It's like later.
It doesn't work. And it's not even necessary, but nobody knows that because nobody's talking about the crux of the problem, which is emotional eating. So when people are given over and over something that is statistically never going to work for them, they have to protect themselves from the disappointment at some point. They cannot afford to hope again that the next diet's going to work. Why would it? And so they do delude themselves that they don't even care anymore. Like, forget it. I'm going to just be happy with the weight I'm at, which is a smart decision to make if you have no other solution.
It's a starting point. Don't you think self-acceptance is like the bottom starting point? Like, first, I'm just going to accept that I have this problem I don't know how to solve. Yes. And I'm going to stop punishing myself and judging myself. And I'm just going, and I think actually when people do that, don't you think that opens a little door?
Yes. You cannot hate yourself into doing the right thing.
No.
It's not going to work. No. So of course you have to get on your side. You have to get on your side. And one of the big benefits of my program and the people in my program that I hear is that if they do overeat, they're starting to do better. Their diet's changing. I don't even give them a diet. Like, I don't give people a food plan. I'm like, you're not stupid. You know what to eat. Like salads.
Everybody knows what to eat. Like,
salads
this is
are
what
better
I eat.
Than French fries. Yes.
Kale and chicken. Kale and chicken. There
right.
you go. Yep, that's what you eat.
So it's not like they need a new diet. Okay. So I teach them to get off the diet track.
Right.
And to stop beating themselves up. So it's not a straight line to freedom. It's like you're going to mess up here and there. It's going to be kind of like the stock market, goes up and down, but overall it's going up,
Right.
And so they learn first and foremost to stop beating themselves up if they mess up. Okay. If they fall down the rabbit hole, it's pure love and love and acceptance. That's the only way to travel. Okay. But what people don't realize is that they can't do the diet and exercise plan because they have an emotional connection with food. And unless and until they address that, they will always crave the French fries and pizza versus the salad. They will have no interest in salad until they no longer have this burden of emotions that compels them to cover up with food, to anesthetize with food. So that's the missing piece is people think, in order to lose weight, I have to be miserable. I have to want French fries and pizza and eat salad. And that can only last a couple weeks. That's how long I lasted on any diet. At first you're like, woohoo, I'm doing it. And you're all excited and you're on that new diet syndrome. The new diet syndrome is you're excited, you have the adrenaline running, and it's like nobody can stop you. But after 2 weeks of not having your favorite foods, you're no longer excited. You're dull, you lack energy, and you're craving the hell out of your favorite foods that you can't eat. You feel deprived for not being able to eat them. that is not sustainable. So the only hope is to have that compulsion for those things removed, where you don't crave them, then not having them. It's like if I said to you, Beth, you cannot eat chicken feet today, no chicken feet for you. I just saw them at the store. They were so gross.
Oh, that's disgusting.
They're literally chicken feet.
No chicken. Oh, gee, twist my arm. Okay.
So that's my point. Is like, you're not thinking about chicken feet. You could give a rat's ass.
I've never, ever thought about chicken feet as a food product until this very moment. This is a new experience right now.
Yeah. So you're not feeling deprived of chicken feet because you don't have a compulsion for chicken feet. So what I'm saying is there's a way by which a person can have the compulsion and obsession for whatever their chicken feet is, okay? Whatever that is, they can have that removed where it's a non-issue. And I don't mean it's not magic. There's work involved, but it's not work on your diet. So I take people off the diet focus and onto the real focus, which is what's going on inside of me, what's in my heart. What stress have I put myself under by being a people pleaser and taking on too much and not speaking up for myself? What stress have I created and how can I stop creating it so that it doesn't turn into this monster of a compulsion to binge on cookies and ice cream? Okay. And that's really what it's about. So people imagine the only hope is the diet and, their only solution is the diet and exercise solution. That doesn't work, 9 times out of 10, that doesn't work. But then what people don't know is there's a different tack they can take, which gets them off of diets. They don't ever have to diet again. They don't have to go to they don't have to darken the doors of a gym again, right. But they can get to where they're neutral around yummy, sweet foods where they could kind of take it or leave it. And that's because the emotional energy with that thing, they're not using it as what? As a painkiller, an escape, and a punishment. Remember the PEP. So it's like, we got to address that emotional draw that we have. If that comes down, it's just food. It's just food. It's not our savior. It's not our solution. It's not our lover, it's just food.
It's fuel.
Yeah.
It's fuel.
And that's not to say you shouldn't enjoy your food. I love my food. I bet you love that salad. It looks really good.
Oh, it's wonderful. And I also eat cake and fries and pizza when I feel like it. So I eat everything. I eat all the things. I really have no dietary. Well, I don't eat dairy because I'm lactose intolerant, but I'm sure if I wasn't lactose intolerant, I would now and again have more ice cream, but I don't like ice cream. So that's not a problem. Chicken's feet, that won't be happening. But anyway, I never had an eating. See, I was never overweight particularly, right? So it wasn't my thing.
Yeah,
so
I know.
My
and you're very blessed.
Right, very, because my relationship to food is like, well, eat what I want to eat when I want to eat it. And that's it. That's my relationship to food. I've had problems in other areas of my life. And I will say for the same exact reason.
Yeah.
So I have chills. The problems in our lives are from whatever overlays we got as children, right? And then whatever the family behavior was, it could show up around money or show up around food or show up around relationships. So I love the work that you're doing. So tell me a bit about if someone comes to work with you, how do you work with a client? How do you, like, what are the sort of basic bullets of taking someone through the journeys to, in a sense, recover a healthy relationship with their own emotions and nourishing their body with fuel rather than being compulsively obsessing about their next meal, which sounds horrific to me. I mean, talk about a waste of energy. Like, oh God,
I know.
And people talk about, what are you going to have for lunch? I'm like, who cares? Why are you thinking about that? What is going on? I was always perplexed. The amount of time people spend on food. I'm like,
no question.
Don't you have stuff to do?
Exactly. And that's the problem is it robs us of the present moment.
It does.
That obsession with food and what I'm going to eat. What am I going to eat? When am I going to get it? How am I going to eat it? So nobody notices how much I'm eating. It goes on and on. It just sucks the energy out of life. It's like, and our family relationships, I was amazed. Like I'd be looking at somebody and smiling and not know one word of what they just said. Cause I'm off thinking about food. Like it just will absolutely rob you of your relationships, that obsession. So to answer your question, it's kind of like three-pronged. Okay. So first of all, I get them off the diet track. I'm like, let's put away your scale. Like, you don't need the scale. You know, you don't like, when we give the scale the power to make us feel good by giving us a number we like, we also necessarily give it the power to make us feel bad when it gives us a number we don't like. It's a total setup for failure. It either gives you a number you like, and then you're like, oh, I got wiggle room. I can eat cake now, you know, and then you go right back up to the other number. Or it gives you a number you don't approve of, and you've been working out at the gym all week and you're like, screw it. What's the point of going to the gym? The number didn't move, you know? And so either way, it's an excuse to eat. So I don't find that the scale is an empowering tool at all. I say, get off the scale, stop making it your higher power. Okay. Let's deal with self-care. Let's make it about self-care. Let's not make exercise about working off a number of calories. Like I tell people, stop working out. Like, just stop working out. Like, you're beating yourself up, you know, in this terrible cycle of trying to work off food or you know, weight. And then you just do it all over again. You binge, and I could never work off my binges. I ate so much food in a sitting. It was terrible.
And you weren't a puker, so you kept it down.
Oh yeah. No, I just got I just put it on my ass. So it was really uncomfortable.
Pack it on.
Exactly what I did.
Yeah.
It was oh my God, it was so self-abusive. So, but the point is, I get them off the diet track. So and change shift their consciousness to one of self-care. Like, how can I take better care of myself? Now, stress plays a big part in stress eating, and overeaters are overdoers and overcomplicators. So,
yeah.
Right. So we do way too much. We pack our schedule. We stuff our schedule. Notice the verbiage. We stuff our schedules with activities. Why? Because we don't want to feel. We don't want to be present with ourselves and what our feelings are. So we're like on the run, adrenaline rush, one thing to another. We're also people pleasers, and we overdo to please people. Okay. We want people to be super happy with us. We want atta girls. And part of this comes from the fact that many emotional eaters have a history of trauma or just dysfunction in their families, which I did. I did not grow up with a strong sense of myself. So I sought validation from outside myself, and I would do anything to get it.
Well, no wonder you were so anxious and needed to stuff yourself.
Exactly.
That's a horrific experience.
It is.
It's almost like being outside of yourself, and your sense of feeling good is totally dependent on other people's validation.
Yeah.
It's very akin to kind of any addiction, isn't it?
Oh yeah. No, the stuff I'm talking about, you could substitute with another addiction as well. Yeah. It's just that emotional eaters, I think, do kind of have a corner on the people pleasing market.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you notice, like, the jolly fat person.
Yeah.
That's like sort of the archetype. And a lot of the people I know that have been jolly and overweight, when I've actually talked to them, they're so unhappy.
Yes.
They're lonely. They're isolated. They want love. They want connection. They want creative expression. And then they keep saying, no, not till I lose the weight, right? So it becomes a way to not be visible.
Totally. And what's also true is emotional eaters are very resentful. Okay. And this was me. We have a smile on our face. We're people pleasers, remember? We don't want people to know we're resentful. And a lot of times we don't even know we're resentful.
And then we want to hit you with our butter knife.
I was so resentful. I was enraged, you know, and I didn't know it till I stopped overeating. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm not this nice persona I put on. So that's why I'm eating. I'm trying to keep all those resentments down so they don't slip out. And so somebody doesn't think I'm a bitch, you know, even though in my head I am a bitch, but I don't want people to know it. So I keep the food, you know, the food tamps down those emotions. I don't want anybody to know I have. But the reason why I have so much resentment is because I'm a people pleaser. I say yes to everything. I'm like, sure, I'll do the extra project. Sure, I'll host the party. Sure, I'll do the driving. Sure, I'll bake all the cookies for the kids. You know, it's like I'm constantly adding more and more to my plate, so to speak. And nobody's ever as pleased as you think they're going to be. That's the problem with people pleasing, is you think you're going to get this big payoff and people barely notice. They take you for granted and then you're pissed off, So you go home and you justify the I deserve it binge, So this is a good example of how it really isn't about the food. Like the food is just like the end result, but it's how I'm living. And I often say it's a living problem, not an eating problem. But that's why diets are so silly. If you just take away your favorite foods and you don't change how you're living, if you don't put boundaries on your time, if you don't take time for yourself and for self-care, if you don't start letting other people pick up the slack and stop being the one to always do it, you will have the same amount of stress, the same amount of resentment, and you'll need the same amount of food. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Wow.
Yeah.
You're so smart about this. I love your passion and your conviction.
I've been around the block a few times. I know it's thank you. And it's all I've done my whole life. This is what I do. This is what I live and breathe to do this, because I've been there. I know the pain of it. And I happen to have a very simple solution for overcoming it that's not diet related. So I'm super passionate.
Oh, it's so amazing. What are some other surprising reasons that you found that people maybe resist getting the help that they need?
Oh, so many, I think that a lot of it comes from worth. A lot of people don't feel worthy of spending money to get help. They'll piss money away all day long on stupid diet programs. Don't get me wrong. Like they've spent thousands upon thousands of dollars, but to spend money to invest in yourself, to really heal at a deeper level, which affects every area of your life when you do, that's a different tack. And that takes a commitment of, resources to get coached, obviously, but time as well. And when you're running around carrying the world on your shoulders, you're like, I don't have time for self-care. I don't have time for self-care. But the thing is, you don't have time to not have self-care in your life. You cannot continue to burn the candle at both ends and expect to not overeat. It's a lose-lose proposition. So I think people don't feel worthy of spending time and money on themselves. I'm sure you see that as well.
Oh yeah, all different scenarios, but for the same reasons.
The self-worth, and it's, women mostly that I help. So they're so used to spending, time and money on their families, on people in need and all this, and they come last. And they don't realize there's something wrong with that picture. If we don't take care of ourselves, we don't have anything to give other people. When we're burned out and exhausted, our adrenals are shot, and we're tired, we're also cranky, we have low energy and we're just not very happy. And that's what we're giving our families. Like, really, is that really what we want to be doing? And so people don't realize, if you take time for yourself, if you invest on getting get yourself supported, because so many of us are caretakers or taking care of sick spouses or parents, or kids. And it's like, if we don't, it's the oxygen mask, scenario. And it sounds trite, but it's so apt.
It's the answer to life. The oxygen mask scenario is pretty much the answer to having a good life.
Exactly. Like help yourself, get the help you need, get supported.
Yep.
And then you will show up in life with more energy. You'd be happier. Your light will shine brighter. People will get the best version of you, but it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to make some people are like, I get it.
So Tricia, have you heard the song Vitamins by Queen Herbie?
No.
Oh my God. Okay. This is like an anthem for your work.
Okay.
It's all about this woman deepening her self-care and becoming the queen.
I love it.
And like everyone's noticing that she's putting so much time and energy into loving herself. And it's a fun song. It's really cool. So I think you like it.
Out.
All right. I have one more heretic question for you. And then I want to look at your chart.
Okay.
Do you feel that the 5,000 plus years of patriarchy and the stress of patriarchy and the toxic masculinity that's affected men and women might have anything to do with what we're seeing around people's relationship with food? I mean, aren't most of your clients women?
They are, and they're mostly middle-aged women. And I think they do come, I think a lot of them, not that it hasn't trickled down to younger people, but I definitely see, you know, the stronghold of the diet culture is so much stronger for older women. And that probably does come from part of that sexism, you know, that we grew up in, right? And so there's no question it has an impact. I just feel like, you know, personally, the only way that I'm going to heal is taking responsibility for my buy-in to that stuff.
That's right. It's like whatever conditioning you're going to take on. So in a sense, it's like, well, whatever's going on in the collective, we're still responsible for our own choices.
Yeah. And if I'm using all that I grew up in and I'm using it on myself, that the buck stops here. Like I got to do something about what I'm doing to myself. I can't do anything about the airbrushing on the models in the magazines. I don't like it. I walked into Nordstrom a month ago and they had like sickly anorexic looking mannequins. And I got pissed off and I wrote to the manager of the store. I'm like, WTF, like how are girls going to ever heal from eating disorders and body dysmorphia when you're doing this? So, and she explained that blah, 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 whatever, it doesn't matter. But I took whatever action I could take. And then I got to come back to myself. What am I doing to myself and my body? Like, how am I talking to my body? You know, am I loving on my body? If I've gained a few pounds, am I being sweet to myself or am I beating the shit out of myself? You know, like I got to take responsibility for that and change that.
Beautiful. Well, should we look at your chart?
Yes.
We'll go in the home stretch here and look at your chart. Okay, good, good, good. I'm going to pull that up here. I'm very excited to see what's cooking in your chart. It's so fun.
Thanks for this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this just makes, it's just so cool to kind of tie it all together. You see why people do the work that they do.
Yeah.
How your soul led you to this.
Yeah.
Right. This looks like you, generator 6-3. So I mentioned at the top of the show, I wanted to talk about your 6-3 profile over here. So in human design, there's a profound relationship with the Yijing and the 64 hexagrams of the Yijing. And it's interesting, the number 64, because we have 64 codons of DNA.
Okay.
And in the human design body graph, there are 64 gates. Now you can see not all of them are colored in because, make this a little bit smaller, because on the personality side, this is your regular astro chart, but the design side is 88 days before you're born. And this is when your soul crystal comes into basically your pineal gland. So this is what's so cool. Our soul crystal, our soul is in our forehead. That's where your soul lives, technically. It's right here. And the soul crystal comes from outer space. It comes from the environment.
Okay.
And it plants in a physical body. So your body is the vehicle for your soul.
Amen.
Right? And your G center here in the middle, yours is in white, so it's undefined. The G center is the driver through time and space. And then the mind, which can overtake things, is comprised of the soul crystal and the head center. So basically the green triangle for you is the neocortex, and then the head is the gray matter behind your pineal gland. So in the chart, there obviously you don't have all 64 gates because there's only 13 celestial positions available on personality side and 13 on the design side. And it's due to what our solar system does. So there's the sun and the earth and moon and Mercury and all the way to Pluto. Okay. And then we have the nodes of the moon, which really are about life themes. After the decimal point, right to the right of the decimal point, there'll always be a number. It will never be higher than 6 because there's 6 lines in the hexagram. So someone else could be gate 58, which is joy, which is part of your life's purpose, is creating joy. And it's joy is a fuel. Joy comes down from the root. So fuel comes from the earth, food, minerals, oil, right? It comes from, even if you have solar panels, they're built by humans to capture the sun. So there's 9 gates at the root, which is your tailbone down to your feet. And that rooted the legs and the feet of the body tap into the earth. And depending on your design, you have access to different fuels. So you have gate 58, which in many ways is one of the endpoints of the journey, which is joy. When you arrive at joy, you know you have cleared the issue. Joy is the sign you're healed. Right? When you feel joy, no matter what's going on around you, you are aligned with spirit. You're aligned with God. You are aligned with truth.
Yes.
Yeah, and you feel it, and you're very joyful. You've taught me so much about joy. I've noticed that the most successful people that I admire are people that have eliminated negativity from their lives. They have eliminated all forms of toxin, foods, medicines, people, experiences, environments that are toxic. And so you come in and you actually don't have the other side of it, which is gate 18 correction. So you actually pull in people, you attract people to you that want joy, but they feel that they're spoiled. They feel spoiled. I mean, not spoiled like indulged, spoiled like broken.
Okay.
They feel broken. They feel worthless. They feel unnecessary. They feel irrelevant. They feel ugly. The list goes on. And they see your joy. They see your joy, and that is why they want to work with you. It is your joy. So the more Tricia ups her joy quotient, the more successful you become, because people are like, wait a minute, she was depressed and emotionally eating, and I saw the pictures of you. You were really struggling with food for a long time.
Yep.
And then you kicked it and you never yo-yoed. And so now
I had a few. Remember the
yes,
stock
but
market?
I mean,
no,
once you
never
healed
went
it,
back there. Yeah,
once you healed it, you healed it. And my point being, you're bringing a consciousness to the planet that's relatively new. And we'll talk about, I want to talk about your profile today, because you're a 6-3 profile. You have a 6 line beside your personality sun, and a 6 line beside your personality earth. So your personality earth, what people feel around you that grounds them and grounds you, what grounds you is joy. What grounds me is listening to someone talk, or listening to music, or I have a water fountain. I got sounds all around me. Acoustics in my design center me. So everyone has a different way that they ground themselves, but you ground it through gate 58, the fuel for joy, and it's line 6. It's line 6. So the 6th line, there's no line after 6. It's like you're sitting on the roof and you're sitting on the roof, getting a few rays, sipping a little, I don't know, kombucha or something. And you're looking out at the field and you're seeing the patterns. And the thing about the 6th line is that it's not the heretic. You're not the kind of person kind of poking people to provoke or shock them. You're not particularly confrontational. You're very gracious, very, very in your love energy and compassion. The 6th line is, hey, it's acceptance. Bottom line, the energy of the 6th line is total 100% unconditional love. It's God frequency. It's actually technically that. So we talk about 5D. Let me just explain 5D in 2 sentences. 5D is sound, aka your voice, if you want to manifest. And when you speak your true voice, right, you ask honest questions, you give honest answers, you state honest intentions, you manifest in the 3D. So 5D is acoustic, it's sound, all forms of sound. 6D is light, it's light energy. So you have a very high capacity to absorb the photonic light that comes down onto the planet. So anyone who leads with a 6th line, as you do, you are the spiritual teachers for humanity. You are the highest frequency possible for humanity. You're the trailblazers of higher consciousness. Like, so you see the collective doing, well, the diet exercise thing is a particularly mental overlay. It's an idea, like, I'm going to start my diet tomorrow and start working out. Whenever people tell me that, I'm like, well, that's not going to work. You know, like, good luck with that. Now you're going to fail and call me in 2 weeks, but go see Tricia. Okay. So yeah, so people do an overlay, mental overlay, and they try to use their mind, right? You're never supposed to use your mind to make decisions, ever, ever, ever. Put it on a shelf. Your mind is for gathering data and having conversations and all that good stuff. So this 6-line energy you have is profound. Now the earth energy is where you're evolving. So you evolve the more joy you give to yourself. The more you up your self-care game, the more you avoid overgiving, martyring, people pleasing. I don't think you do much of that anyway, but if at all.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Not anymore. But just checking yourself, like, am I satisfied? Because you're a generator. You know, you get an active sacral. Your whole life is about, am I satisfied or not? All right. Your personality sun, which is the biggest energy in your chart, and it's the energy people feel the most from you, is in gate 52 down here, which is known as the mountain or stillness. And gate 52 teaches people how to go inside. So, for example, I wouldn't be surprised if you teach people different exercises to track the sensations throughout their body. Right.
I'm more on an emotional level, tracking what's really going on with them emotionally.
Their feelings is what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Track your feelings.
Yes, no doubt.
Right. How do you feel before you eat? How do you feel after you eat? Do you know what feeling you're having and why you're having it? Right. So 52 says to the individual, basically, let's learn how to meditate. Let's learn how to get real quiet.
Yeah.
Get real still.
Vital.
So that's what you lead with. So what people feel when they encounter you is, oh my gosh, she's so grounded in her joy. And she's so present. She's so clear. She's so calming. She makes me feel relaxed and loved and at home. 52, you can hear my voice. I'm going into the frequency of gate 52. Gate 52 is the voice of those meditation CDs. You know, you're getting very sleepy. And we're going to go on an astral journey back to the roots of your beautiful soul. Yeah. So it's like you take people on a journey inward.
Yes.
Inward. That's the essence. Now, your design is what you need to do to keep yourself healthy. And the way you keep yourself healthy is, first of all, what keeps your body healthy is 21, line 3. So gate 21 is about freedom to dress, eat, live, and work as you please. You cannot have anyone try to control you with gate 21. And it doesn't always make for the easiest time for traditional relationships, intimate relationships. You need something a little more unconventional, because anything that would cause you to feel trapped or stifled, you're out of there. You're like, oh no. And that, so what keeps you healthy is that. But the third line is about comedy. It's about celebration. It's about joy. So what keeps you healthy is parties. And I have to say, you're always throwing parties.
Yep.
Yeah, you have a party tomorrow, you know, like you always have parties. And this is so interesting because people feel your stillness and they want what you have. And the way you stay healthy and celebrate, Tricia, is to celebrate life. So the 21-3 is like, I want to celebrate life on my terms. So I'm going to throw myself a party just because. And you're all invited.
Yep.
And it also, it's very lighthearted. You're the person, you're not a heavy energy. You're the person that comes in who's really the fool with a sense of humor. It's like the sage telling the king to, like, oh, lighten up, and telling him good jokes, you know, so he keeps you keeping the castle laughing. You know, it's that kind of energy, like the jester. But the wise jester, the jester who creates transformation by catching people off guard and helping them feel lighter. Your genius is your depth. You're so deep. Gate 48 is the well, and it's off the spleen. So it's instinct, and it's the depth to help the collective heal. And the way you help the collective heal is to give them the strategies for healing and to help them laugh, help them celebrate.
Amen.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
So your incarnation, let's have a look up here. It's called the left angle cross of demands. And with this incarnation, you're dealing with people who haven't learned how to manage demand. The demand of when you're in school, you need to turn in your homework or you'll fail. The demands of being a mother or father, the demands, responsibility, essentially. And so you are really good at handling responsibility. And a huge part of what you're teaching people is how do you handle the demands of being in a human body as a spiritual being? Because, you know, a spiritual, our soul fractal doesn't need a body. It already exists and it's eternal. It's a piece of data that goes on forever. So when we talk about eternal life, it's a real thing. Technically, scientifically, it's a real thing. However, that life, it doesn't poop, you know, it doesn't need to eat. And so what happens, I'm getting chills. A lot of the people you've attracted are very, very, very spiritually aware. And they are channels, and they themselves are here to be healers, coaches, and teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They are very distressed, hugely distressed being in a human body, because where they came from, there were not those demands. And if you have a human body, you have to feed it or you'll die eventually. Some people need more food than others. Like I don't eat very much I eat like once a day, you know, so I don't even eat that much. I don't need to in my design. I really don't need that much food. Some people's designs, I see they're not eating enough, right? They're the people who need, like you, regular meals.
Yep.
And snacks and, you know, and healthy ones. Like all of your food needs to be like local, organic, green, and I can eat McDonald's with no negative effects. I'm not saying I recommend that. I don't. I mean, I don't recommend eating fast food as a regular thing, but I can have it and it's like whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. So a lot of these people coming in, they're shocked to find themselves in this human body that has all these demands, the demand of the physical. And what you do is you help people understand the demand of the physical as a gift. That it is an opportunity and a blessing to have chosen a human body as your vehicle. And in order for you to fulfill the intention of the soul crystal, you need to treat your vehicle like a Maserati and not that shit kicker bicycle that's rusting in your garage.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's really the difference. But the individuals didn't know this. They didn't know they were really resentful. They have a body in the first place. They're mad at their body. Their bodies betrayed them. And how would you know about this? Well, you have to know the thing to teach the thing.
Yeah.
So the 6-3 profile is quite rare, 1.5–2% of the world's population. Your incarnation cross is quite rare. And you are, as a 6-3, you're dealing with 3 3s. A 6 is a double 3 followed by a 3. 3 3 3. 3 is the most powerful number there is. It's the strongest structure, right? The triangle.
Okay.
Think the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Mother, Father, Child, body, soul, mind, right? So what your life was about up till about age 30 was a lot of trial and error, a lot of bumping into things, a lot of pain and struggle, a lot of physical abuse. And that's typical for anyone that has a 3 in their profile. But you have 3 3s. At age 30, it's the awakening of, oh, I want to get my life together. I really do. And then at age 50, you come down off the roof and you share with the masses. But what you're sharing are strategies for joy. They're strategies to create joy.
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
Yes. That's right. You can't have joy when you're obsessed with food and hating on your body. No. But if you overcome that, you can yep. fly like an eagle.
That's right. Well, you're an earth angel. That's why you're here. And the other thing too is you've got the 5027 channel, which connects your spleen to your sex organs. And the 5027 is the channel of nurturing. So my experience of you is you're so profoundly nurturing. Like going to your party, you're like, well, I have this dessert for this group and this dessert for this group, and there's 6 salads and like all the things, and you make sure everybody's comfortable and everybody has a great time. And you're naturally nurturing. It's a mother energy. So one of the other things people come to you is to be reparented by a loving mother figure. They know you're not their mother, but you bring them the nurturing, the unconditional love, and the support that many times they didn't receive. And this is quite profound for people.
Yeah, that's so right on.
It's so profound. The other thing you've got is the 3828 channel, which is about the fight to find your life purpose. So inherent in all of this work for you is that once they clear what's blocking their joy, you help them find the fuel to stand up for themselves and fight for their own life and fight for their purpose, and not go to their grave not having fulfilled their potential. Because after they conquer the food thing, it's like, well, now what? And that's when you come in and you say, oh, well, now we're going to get down to business, and you're going to manifest that purpose that's so important to you.
Oh, so right on.
So that's just a little taste of your human design.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, it's a very interesting chart. And when I looked at it, I went, wow, that really makes sense, because you have brought really original work to the planet, and you have a very unique approach with all of this work. So yeah.
Thank you so much. That was such a gift, Beth. That was
you're
awesome.
So welcome.
And
you're so welcome.
Incredibly right on. I love it. And I do. It was only about 4 years ago that I embraced that my primary value in life is fun. I was in the closet about it. Like, I somehow thought that was too light and fluffy. I'm like, I gotta be deeper than that, which I am deeper than that. But I love having fun, and when it's not fun, I don't want to do it. And so I bring that to my work. I bring it to my personal relationships, and that's what people appreciate about me. So I just embraced it, and I've been like flying ever since. I just wake up happy every single day of my life.
Yeah, me too. And the path to abundance always starts with an open heart.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start with the love first, the self-love. There's no place else to start. You must love and respect yourself, or nothing works, right?
Yeah. And if you say you love yourself, but you're beating yourself up with food, there's a disconnect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I tried when I've been dating, I really try to keep an open mind, and
we have to have a separate show on that.
We do. And I've gone on some dates with people who had, let's just say, interesting relationships with food and alcohol. And I noticed I sat there watching the person, and I'm like, ooh, they're more interested in the food than me. There will not be another date. And they kept talking about it. They knew. They're like, I can't stop. And I'm like, I have a person for you. I have a person for you. Yeah. All right. Any final words of wisdom for our audience?
I just will say it's not about the food. Okay. And I do want to put a little bug in people's ear that a good place to start, a lot of my clients start with my Quit Sugar Challenge.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's really fun. Speaking of fun, it's a 5-day Quit Sugar Challenge. I do morning mindset calls to address, if people are like, sugar, I want to give it up, but I don't want to give it up. I do mindset calls so they can help, just detach from their emotional dependence on sugar. And then I show them all different ways that sugar is sneaking into their diet. And we talk about emotional eating, and it's like they clear sugar out, and it's, you don't have to quit sugar in 5 days, but you can at least make some progress, clean things up. So it's really fun. And so I just want to suggest that, they can go to quitsugarchallenge.com and get on the wait list so they get the announcement when we have our next one coming up. But it's a great way to get started, to get to know me. I also have a book and a podcast too.
Yeah. And we'll put all the links for all of you watching the show in the notes to the show. So just look down below. You can find all of Tricia's links. Tricia, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Beth.
Yeah,
You're such
you.
I get that you're a listener because you're really good at it, and your podcast is awesome, and you're just a great friend, and I just love you so much. So thank you.
I love you so much too. You have been an earth angel and continue to be in my life, and you're one of the people that is a role model to me, because the 6-3 is the role model martyr. All your martyring, in other words, all your trial and error benefits humanity through your spiritual teaching and being a role model. And that's what you've been to me. You are a role model of joy. And I've noticed that in your life. I'm like, wow, when Tricia remodeled her gorgeous home and started throwing lots of parties and basically being joyful all the time, wow, her business really took off. I think those two things are connected. And the other thing about you is you're very clear and direct, but you don't gossip. I've never heard you put anyone down. I've never seen you ever even be slightly off color or rude to anyone. You don't make fun of people. A lot of people sort of present a front, but behind closed doors, they kind of nudge on their values. They allow themselves a little toxicity. And my experience of you is you're the same publicly as you are in private.
Aww.
And that kind of congruence is where that's joy right there. That's healing. When someone's the same on the inside as they are on the outside, and it's not a front, and it's not just a way to extract people's money. It's so appreciated.
Aww,
so I just
really,
I respect you so much.
Oh, back at you, girlfriend.
Thanks,
Thank
honey.
you so much for all your nice words. I think I'm going to float out of here now.
Good. More joy. More joy. All right, everyone. Well, this has been another episode of Aligned to Your Design. We'll see you all soon, and bye for now.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Aligned to Your Design. If you did, please grab my free report, Business by Design, at yourpurpose.com, and then join our Facebook group, Align to Your Design. See you next time.